Yo people, what's going on? This is going to be my review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now just so you know, there are going to be a few little spoilers in this review, but they're going to be towards the end of the video, and I will leave a big, huge warning before the spoilers happen, so you'll have every opportunity to pause the video, skip forward, mute the video, go off the video, whatever you want to do if you don't like spoilers. If you do, you can continue watching. If you've seen the movie, you can continue watching. Either way, it will be highlighted, so if you don't like spoilers, you do not have to worry. You will be warned fairly and with enough time. With that said, and out of the way, let's talk about my thoughts and feelings about the movie. So first things first, the plot line. I felt like the first half of this movie was a mess. I felt like it just bounced back and forth way too much. I mean, they're trying to showcase Batman's story and Superman's story, trying to make them intertwine. And I mean, it made sense. I'm not saying it was, broken or anything like that, but just the way it was done was very messy to me. It was very disengaging. It was hard for me to stay engaged with the plot and follow it along in any type of way that I was enjoying. Batman's parts were specifically annoying because during Batman's parts, he was having all sorts of flashbacks as well as premonitions of the future, and these were things that either could have been explained a little better, left out of the movie completely, or maybe just done better. I don't know, but it just felt like the first half of the movie was just a lot of just bunch of scenes just thrown together, and it just seemed very just not structured well, and it was very disengaging for me as a viewer. I don't know if everybody's gonna feel that way, but after the movie, when we left the theater, I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and she seemed to feel the same way too, so I know I'm not the only one. One of my biggest issues with the movie was some of the casting, specifically Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor in this movie is awful character. One of the biggest flaws in the movie, in my opinion. Jesse Eisenberg, he's not convincing as Lex Luthor. He's not a convincing psycho. He's not a convincing scientist. He's not a convincing genius. He's just not a convincing villain at all. He's got an annoying voice. Okay, he sounds like a teenager going through puberty. His script is horrible. The script of this movie completely is not the best. It's pretty, I don't want to say it's amateurly written, but it doesn't seem like a lot of thought really went into the script, and that shines a lot with characters like Lex Luthor and even Wonder Woman's character. I mean, Gal Gadot played a great Wonder Woman. I think she looks the part, and Wonder Woman's character in this movie plays a pretty significant role, and I felt like it was a good role. I enjoyed Wonder Woman's part, but I feel like her lines, when she had things to say, I was just like almost rolling my eyes because it just seemed so poorly written. It didn't really seem like this is the character that's been around for hundreds of years battling evil. I don't know. It's hard to even put into words, but if you see the movie, or if you have seen the movie, the script for those two characters specifically, and even some of Ben Affleck's lines as Batman, I just found were just not at the level that they should be at for a movie that cost, $230 million to make or something like that. So that was a little disappointing for me. Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck as their respective characters were great, in my opinion. I think Ben Affleck was a good Batman, but other than this movie, plus the two Justice League movies that are coming up, I can't see them using Ben Affleck in a standalone Batman series. I feel like he's too old, because this movie takes place, basically Batman's old already. He's like in his mid-40s. He's pretty much getting towards the end of his crime-fighting cycle, his crime-fighting life. So I can't picture them doing any movies that take place preceding this with Ben Affleck in the driver's seat as Batman, because he's basically too old. Like, unless they do some movie magic and make him look younger, which they can do, but I don't know how convincing that will be. I don't know, but I still feel like Ben Affleck played a good Batman in this specific movie as the older, kind of not so much washed up, but just battle-scarred type of Batman, I guess you could say. And I think Henry Cavill is the best Superman we've ever had. I feel like he's basically a perfect fit for Superman. He is to Superman what Hugh Jackman is to Wolverine, in my opinion. But anyways, those castings, in my opinion, were great. Doomsday. Doomsday, we all know Doomsday's in the movie because he was revealed in one of the earlier trailers. I think that was a mistake. I think this movie could have been a lot better if they had left Doomsday as a surprise. It would have given more of like a wow factor, like, oh my god, type of thing. If you didn't know Doomsday was going to be in the movie, then all of a sudden, bam, there he is, and it's like this big plot twist kind of thing. But no, they had to reveal it in the trailer, which kind of took away from the excitement of Doomsday in the movie. But other than that, minor thing, I feel like Doomsday was portrayed very well in the movie. I think he looked cool, but you know what? I have a gripe with Doomsday, and I'm gonna leave it for the spoiler part of this video. Alright, so this is the part of the video where I'm going to talk about some things which may be considered spoilers to some people. I'm not going to try to tell you guys the whole plot and how it plays out or anything like that, but I need to share some thoughts and opinions on certain aspects of the movie that I feel like were explained poorly or just shown poorly or whatever. First off, they showed Batman's origin story, which we've seen so many times. We've seen it in cartoons, we've seen it in 2 different movie adaptations. I mean, we know how Batman, his parents died. That's basically what I'm talking about. The whole scene with his parents, they're leaving the movie theater and walking down the street, and the thug robs them and shoots his parents or whatever. They show that whole scene, and although it is very well executed, the scene's very artistically shot and, good, cinematography and stuff like that, but unnecessary. We didn't need to see it. I feel like, especially in a movie where Batman's older and kind of nearing the end of his crime-fighting cycle, you don't need to show an origin, and that kind of thing. It was one of these scenes where it was like Batman he woke up with a nightmare. He's constantly having flashbacks of his parents' death and flashbacks of visiting his parents' grave and all this weird shit happening in his dreams and stuff like that. And it felt unnecessary to me. It felt like just little things that were there to fill plot holes, maybe. But in my opinion, they created plot holes. I feel like these types of scenes were subtracting from the overall plot rather than adding to it. If they want to make a standalone Batman movie, those are the kind of scenes that belong in a standalone Batman movie. But showing Batman's origin in this specific movie seemed a little out of place to me. That's just my opinion. Another thing about Batman that bugged me a lot, and this is something that bugged me from the trailers, and I was hoping they would explain it in the movie, and they never did, and that is his big metal suit. How the fuck does Batman even stand up in that thing? It looks heavy as fuck. I mean, this is a suit designed for him to fight Superman, okay? So obviously it's gonna be thick steel, heavy as hell. And I was hoping they would do something to explain that it's mechanized in some way, and they didn't. There was no mechanized sounds. You couldn't hear like or anything like that. And basically, even his movements while he was in the suit seemed very organic. There was no scenes with Alfred like talking about, I'm constructing this new, combat suit for you or anything like that. Nothing. I mean, his eyes glow, and you can tell that he's got some sort of mechanical stuff in his helmet. But as far as the whole bodysuit itself goes, it just seemed like a guy who was super strong walking around in a suit made of steel. Like, I don't know, it was very unbelievable for me. I didn't believe that aspect of it, and I feel like they could have done a little better job at least explaining the suit a little more to make it more believable, and again, not so disengaging, because I'm sitting there going, how the fuck is Batman moving around in this thing? Right? How is he swinging his fists? How is he even taking a step? This thing is heavy looking. But maybe that's a minor gripe. I don't know. It could be one of those things like, obviously it's mechanized. Like, duh, why wouldn't it be? But, I mean, if you're going to put something like that in the movie, you got to make it make sense, right? You got to make it make sense, because there's viewers out there like me who are going to look at it and go, how is that possible? That's unbelievable. And right away you get disengaged from the movie. And that's a disappointing thing. You want to be engaged the whole time, and that's a challenge that they have as writers and as directors. to keep their audience engaged from the opening credits to the end credits. That's their job, basically. So it's these little things like that where you step back and you go, what is this? What's going on here? How is this making any sense? There was one scene where I'm pretty sure a lot of people were just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what the hell is happening? And it was a premonition or a vision or some sort of, future telling or something that Bruce Wayne was having. He I think it's a scene, he passes out at his desk, he's working too long, so he passes out, or maybe he wakes up from a nightmare or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But anyways, he has this vision of the future. And it's this post-apocalyptic world. And there's these demons that are like flying down. They have like wings and shit like that. And there's all these soldiers who kind of look like Nazis. And it's just, this seems really out of place. Like, you have no idea why it's happening. Batman's wearing goggles and he's got this big coat on and everything like that. It just seems very out of place. I think I made the connection of what the relevance of this scene. And it does make sense, but you kind of got to know a little bit of, I guess, backstory of the Justice League and Justice League villains. But I'm pretty sure that those demon things are representations of Darkseid, who's a big, huge villain in the DC universe. But I remember this from the Justice League cartoons, because in Justice League, Darkseid was one of the main villains, and he had these flying demon things as his like minions. They were like, his soldiers or whatever. But in that storyline, if I remember correctly, Darkseid, he like tricks Superman, or he brainwashes Superman or something like that, and makes Superman basically a villain to the other Justice League members and makes them fight and stuff like that. So I think that premonition that Batman had was a lead up or some sort of omen to the Justice League movie and Darkseid being the main villain in that movie. But it also seemed a little out of place in this movie, right? It's one of those things where you're watching the movie and you got this, the plot's going along, yada, 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 and then pulls you right out, puts you over here. It's like, okay, now this is happening. It's like, why do you have to do that to me? Like, why do you have to take me out of this and put me over here for, a few minutes, and then take me out of there and put me back over here? It's also kind of weird that, if that is the case, if that is how it plays out, how does Batman have these, like, premonitions? Like, is Batman a fortune teller now? Is he like a what do you call it, a soothsayer or whatever? I've never known Batman to be the kind of guy that has visions of the future. Maybe he does, I don't know, but I've never known Batman to be that kind of character. But anyways, it was just another disengaging thing in the plot. Another big gripe with the movie that I had, and this is maybe a spoiler, I'm not sure, so I'm putting it in the spoiler section just in case this counts as a spoiler to anybody. But there's really only one fight scene between Batman and Superman, and it lasts about 20 minutes. Okay, and the movie's 2.5 hours long. So in a movie titled Batman v Superman, that's 2.5 hours long, and you have one 20-minute fight scene between the two of them. That to me was a little underwhelming. I would like to have seen them fight more. I wanted to see like maybe like a 3 or 4 part battle between the two that was all back and forth and stuff. But it was just like, it was one battle. It was a good fight, mind you. I don't want to take anything away from the fight. It was a great fight. Batman does have a leg to stand on. I'm not going to tell you how he gets the upper hand on Superman, but let me tell you, he fucking kicks Superman's ass. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but I just felt like, in a movie titled Batman vs. Superman, or Batman v Superman, there should have been more fighting between the two. I mean, there was psychological fighting, I guess you can say, mostly on Batman's part, like trying to psych himself up to fight Superman and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just, there should have been more. I wanted more. One thing that bothered me too was the entire fight scene against Doomsday. They might as well have just covered the whole screen orange and left it like that for 10 or 15 minutes, because that's all you basically saw. Doomsday's got orange lasers shooting out of his eyes. Superman's got orange lasers shooting out of his eyes. Wonder Woman's got, she's slashing with her sword. It's creating orange beams of light, and she's got her orange lasso. It's just orange everywhere on the screen, flashing all over the place. Orange, orange, orange. It was crazy. Like, it was just way too much. Like, I mean, I like special effects in movies, but this is one of those things that was overdone. massively. Like, you basically couldn't even see or tell what was really going on because it was just orange fucking lightning everywhere. And I mean, I don't know, maybe it's these little things that bother me. Or maybe that's something that bothered everybody, I don't know. But I just felt like, you know, why is this screen just covered in orange for like this whole part? It just seemed very lazy to me. It seemed like they didn't want to create a real battle, so let's just cover the screen in special effects. You know, everybody will sit there and will be like, ooh, ah, wow, pretty lights. That doesn't work for me. That's it. Plain and simple, that doesn't work for me. That bothered me a lot. I felt like the battle between, you know, the heroes and Doomsday could have been a little more creative, I guess. I mean, instead of just my lasers versus your lasers, that's all it was. So yeah, that bugged me quite a bit. But anyways, other than all that stuff, you know, a lot of gripes I have with the movie, but if you take away the unnecessary flashbacks, you take away the bad script from a few of the characters, you clean up the plot structure a bit, this is not a bad movie, okay? This is a great follow-up to Man of Steel. It's a great origin story to the Justice League. There's awesome fight scenes with Batman against, you know, thugs and stuff like that. There's awesome Batmobile scenes, you know, racing through the streets and fighting other, you know, bad guys in jeeps and stuff like that with machine guns and things like that. Henry Cavill is amazing as Superman. They show a really good job showing how torn the world and society is between whether or not Superman's a friend or foe, which is part of the plot that started in Man of Steel and continued on to this. You know, everybody's still like, you know, what do we do about Superman? Like, nobody knows what to do. And the bottom line is there's nothing they can do. Like, he's there. He wants to stay. He doesn't want to leave Earth. Earth is his home. And that scares people because of all the power he has. So overall, I did enjoy the film. I have my gripes with it, but there's really nothing that made this movie a complete atrocity or anything like that. It's not an awful movie, but it's far from deserving of a perfect score. It's not getting a 10 out of 10 for me by any means. I would probably give this movie probably a 6.5 out of 10. I feel like it's a movie that is easily enjoyable, but it has quite a lot of room for improvement in a lot of different ways, which obviously I talked about throughout this video. But that's basically going to be it for this review. Leave your thoughts about my review in the comments below. If you've seen the movie yourself, I want to know your thoughts about it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you kind of on the fence with it? Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I always like to engage and, you know, discuss these kinds of things with people. But that's basically it. That's going to be it for me for now. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Vile Self. Until next time, later, villains.